In example 3, we need to construct a 95% confidence interval estimate of the population standard deviation. We need to start by finding chi-square on the left and chi-square on the right. So let's start with a sketch. 95% confident, so 0.95 in the center. That leaves 0.025 in each tail. The sample size is 24, so the degrees of freedom would be 23. And here's chi-square on the left, and here's chi-square on the right. Now go to table A-4. For chi-square on the left, use degrees of freedom of 23 and an area to the right of 0.975. So you should find that chi-square on the left is 11.689. To find chi-square on the right, use degrees of freedom of 23 and an area to the right of 0.025. Then you should find that chi-square on the right is 38.076. And now we can find the confidence interval. So we have this big square root. N minus 1 is the same as the degrees of freedom, or 23. Then we need the sample standard deviation, which they told us was 0.049, and we need to square that number, divided by chi-square on the right, which is 38.076. Then that's less than the population standard deviation, less than the other square root. The numerator is the same, the degrees of freedom, times the sample standard deviation squared. And this time we need to divide by chi-square on the left, which is 11.689. When we work this out, we will want to round to 3 decimal places, just like the sample standard deviation. So you should end up with 0.038 grams is less than the population standard deviation is less than 0.069 grams. Now this particular example has 2 more questions. The first one, based on the confidence interval, does the new equipment appear to produce a standard deviation that is clearly lower than the standard deviation of 0.062 grams from the old equipment? You should answer no to that, since 0.062 grams is within the interval. The second question, based on the results, does the new equipment appear to be effective in reducing the variation of the weights? Again, since 0.062 grams is within the interval, there is not evidence that the new equipment is effective in reducing the variation.